Hey smart people, it's been a while since we did one of these, and there's a lot of new faces out there. To celebrate our 2 millionth subscriber, I'm here to answer 2 million of your questions. So grab a cup of coffee, we're gonna be here for a while. As always, you've been sending in a lot of comments and asking great stuff like, how are y'all doing today? First off, is "how're" a real word? Let's argue about it in the comments. Secondly, great, and thanks for asking. Congrats on having 2 million subscribers. Yeah, that happened. Thank you. And thank you to the other 1,999,999 of you that helped us reach this milestone, which I know is just a random and convenient divisible by 10 number, but it's still completely mind-boggling and awesome, and I feel very lucky. So seriously, thank you times 2 million. Which is your favorite video you've made and why? Favorite video? For YouTube creators, our videos are like our children. And would a parent say they have a favorite child? No, but they would think it because they secretly do have a favorite. I've posted over 200 videos up to this point, and my favorite one is probably this one. I would live in that ice cave if it wasn't so cold and wet and full of dangerous falling rocks. The cave is just flat out one of the most beautiful and interesting things I've ever seen in my life, besides my wife. How'd you get into the video making game? Did you ever have doubts about how it would turn out? I don't think I've ever told this story on the channel before, and everybody keeps asking, so here goes. I got a degree in biology from here. I did some research, went back to get a PhD, also from here. And while I was learning all this awesome science, I realized a lot of people out there weren't. So when I taught biology in grad school, I started playing videos from these people, which inspired me to make my own website so I could share awesome science with everybody. At the top, I wrote this motto to remind people that it's okay to be smart. Didn't really mean for it to be the name, but people started calling it that, so that's how that happened. The blog got really popular, so I decided to become a better science writer. I worked there for a summer, and in the middle of it all, I got an email from these people asking if I wanted to make some science videos, and I'm like, sure, never done that before, why not? Definitely don't go back and watch my first videos. I'm hypnotizing myself. In the beginning, like everyone else, I just turned on the camera, tried to tell a good story, and worked to be a better writer, teacher, and creator every week by listening to you and being inspired by my fellow creators. And 5 years later, thanks to the wonderful creative people that helped me research and write and animate and produce these videos, man, we're having a lot of fun. Do you write all your own puns? Of course I do. Using a ghostwriter, that would not be Ghoul. Ghost, Ghoul. What's your favorite science podcast for kids? Excellent question, Tumble Podcast. Have you heard of Tumble Podcast? It's really good. Any advice on relationships? If you love yourself when you're not in a relationship, you'll love a lot better when you're in a relationship. Think about what you can give more than what you need. And don't worry about it lasting forever. Just focus on being happy right now, because a few billion years from now, the sun will die and swell up and vaporize Earth anyway. Will we ever see your wife as a guest on your show?
Me?
Yeah.
Sure.
If a chicken had lips, could it whistle? You guys ask weird questions. Anyway, not like we do, because whistling actually involves these highly coordinated tongue movements and breath control, and birds' tongues are tiny and weird, and they actually don't even have diaphragms. You should go look up how birds breathe. It's so strange. It's like they're living bagpipes. Birds don't need to whistle anyway because they have this cool organ called a syrinx, which is kind of like if our voice box was in our chest. And they can squeeze air through it to make all kinds of whistling, chirping, quack-a-doodle-doodling noises, which are way cooler than or whatever that is. Do you have any advice for others who would like to be science communicators? There's a lot that goes into communicating science well, but the most important thing to remember is while we like to think of science as a big pile of stuff to know, it's really a way of looking at the world. People like stories more than data, and the best way to get someone to think about something is to make them feel something. Always remember, while facts are often simple, people are complex. Any advice for science grad students? Take time for your mental health next to all your hard work. Your value as a person is not tied to the success of your science. And remember, you might sometimes feel like you don't belong, but you deserve to be there, and everyone else is just as anxious and confused as you are. They're just not admitting it. I wish someone had told me this when I was in grad school. Show us your baby. Okay. He's the best. Light pollution, please. Okay. Oh, you meant do a video about light pollution. Okay, we should do that too. Good idea. How'd you decide you wanted to work in biology? There's this saying that all science is just applied physics, and physicists think they're the coolest. But to that, I say without biology, there wouldn't be physicists. Checkmate biology. A few people have asked if there was a place they could send stuff to me in the show, like real physical stuff. The answer is yes. Details down in the description. You guys have also been really active in the YouTube comments on every video, which is great. So now, against my better judgment, let's read some of those comments from a few of our favorite recent videos, which you should go watch right now. I'll wait. First off, to address the most common comment I got. Yes, I'm aware that the sky and the ocean are blue, but I didn't include them in the video because the sky and the ocean didn't evolve to be blue like living things did. Because I'm a biologist and living things are more interesting, and it's my channel and I say so. A couple people wondered what makes pigments different from structural colors. Part of the problem is that when we say molecules have structure or that a butterfly wing has structure, we're really talking about different things. One is a way to describe how atoms are arranged, like the structure of water. The other is the actual physical shape of a thing, like how your house or your face has structure. So white light is a mixture of all colors, all wavelengths in the visible part of the spectrum. If we see something that has color, that's because the color or colors we see are reflected back into our eyes. And the object subtracts the other wavelengths. Difference is that when a pigment absorbs, the energy of a photon, if it's the right wavelength, is literally absorbed like a sponge. Except a sponge is usually an electron. But in a wing or feather, wavelengths get trapped inside of a hall of mirrors and they cancel each other out, like we showed in our video. If we eat too many carotenoids, can we turn pink? Well, no, not pink, but I was amazed to find out you could turn another color. If you eat enough plant foods like carrots, sweet potatoes, squash, and other colorful veggies that are all naturally high in carotenoid pigments, you could develop a condition called carotenemia, where patches of your skin actually turn yellow or orange. This is most common in small kids or babies when their parents are shoving mashed carrots and stuff in their face. So obviously, as an adult, you'd have to eat a lot of this stuff. Usually not harmful though. The cure is to just stop eating those foods. So, cheeseburgers for health. Salem Al-Arak comments that reading about evolutionary stable strategies like sex ratios in Richard Dawkins' The Selfish Gene really shifted their perspective. That book is the first place I learned about this idea too. The Selfish Gene discusses a lot of what we learned about evolution since Darwin. It's a great book. We've actually got a whole website full of books that we've featured in past videos. So go read and learn you a thing. That's how we talk. Joshua Walters had an excellent question about purple people eaters and what they eat. They clearly are purple and eat regular people, because if they only ate purple people, they'd starve, because not a lot of those around. Several of you left great comments about exceptions to the 50-50 sex ratio, like ants and bees and animals that determine the sex of their offspring by temperature. And these are all so interesting, and we didn't have time to talk about them, but man, we should do a video about that in the future. David Lazur left a great comment about how I distinguish sex versus gender in this video. Actually, a lot of people commented about this, but most of the others weren't as polite. I want to take a moment and address this. So why would I, a scientist, differentiate sex from gender? When people talk about these things in day-to-day life, the words are sometimes used interchangeably, which has led to a lot of confusion. But when biologists discuss sex, we're referring to combinations of DNA, chromosomes, and how those genetic instructions influence physical characteristics. Gender is a much different thing. It deals with how different societies and different places have developed expectations or traditions for how people act in relation to their appearance and their sex, and a whole lot of other things. Sex and gender are different things, no matter what your feelings are about how they're used to describe people. Since my video was about genetic sex, it was important to me to make that clear. A few of you were curious how HIV attacks our immune system. So HIV attacks actually a completely different type of immune cells, T cells, different from the antibody cells that I talked about in the video, which are B cells. There's one group of T cells that actually helps B cells attack germs. They sort of amp them up and help the B cells do their job. And that's the cells that HIV attacks and how it weakens people's immune system. A few of you had interesting comments about how much agriculture really can be scaled up in order to feed more people. The truth is, no one really knows for sure because we don't know what'll be possible with tomorrow's technology or in tomorrow's climate. But what is certain is we'll have to feed that population differently than we do now. According to the World Bank, 70% of freshwater that we use on Earth goes to agriculture already. So while there is some land like deserts where we're not growing stuff already, we don't have extra fresh water to make that into nice farmland. We're gonna have to be a lot more careful with what we plant where to make the best use of water, and even consider developing crops that use less water, which is a whole GMO question that we should probably talk about one of these days. I see a theme here, lots of new video ideas. Some great comments about the burden of old age. This is another interesting side of the story that we didn't really talk about. Birth rates are actually slowing in most of the world, and most of Earth's population growth is from people just living longer and not dying as much as they used to, rather than rapid growth in the number of people being born. So as science continues to fight aging or even gets close to beating it, we might have a whole new population question to deal with. Finally, a question about moon cheese. The moon is not made of cheese, it's actually made of rock and covered in several inches of dust particles that have not been smoothed out by wind and erosion like dust here on Earth. They're sharp as glass, would definitely kill you if you ate it. But if it was made of cheese, well, the moon is roughly 22 million cubic meters in volume, which is the volume of roughly 720 million wheels of Parmigiano Reggiano. If all 7.6 billion people on Earth ate 27 kilograms of cheese a year, as much as your average French person, then it would take approximately 133 billion years for us to eat that cheesy moon. That was probably 2 million questions, right? These were all wonderful comments and questions. We really appreciate all your support and curiosity. There's obviously a ton I didn't have time to answer, but you can always find me out there on the internet. Thank you, and remember, stay curious. We're gonna have to be a lot more careful, but no, that's not how we're doing that. That's not how any of this goes. What, huh? Let's end this. Parmigiano Reggiano. A few of you had interesting comments about how much agriculture. I don't want to do this one. Hey there, dude. Loving that. That was super sweet. Come here often? I hope so. It's good for me if you do. Do appreciate it, always. Come back and see us sometime. Stay curious. Bye-bye now.